objectives, and you know what you expected from it. One was I was like, fingers crossed for the first one. I said tick. Second one,
fingers
tick,
crossed
tick,
for the first one. Yeah.
So please can you enlighten, you know, because it was really good. It was really
yeah,
good.
no, I've been kind of waiting for this kind of course. Actually, I think it should be really useful. Should be good. And Lucy's joined. I know Lucy.
Expectations, no, because otherwise you set yourself up for disappointment.
Don't say that.
Keep them high. Keep them high.
Yeah.
Am I working?
We got
Yes,
Lucy.
you are. Yeah.
Hi, Pete. How are you?
Hi. You okay? Nice to see a friendly face.
Nice to meet you guys too.
Hi.
I'm Hazel.
Nice
Hi, Sylvia.
Yeah.
Jinx.
Sylvia, you could make it. Thank you. Because I know you had to kind of work your diary around. I think Magda put me off to say like, how much, you know, time what you've got on. So thank you.
Ramsey, now we can see you. Welcome.
Okay, Ramsey. Yeah. Yeah. Ramsey, hi. We need to unmute.
I'm unmuting Ramsey. Hi, Allison.
Yeah.
And what is your name? Is that Lucy?
That's Lucy.
Yeah, that's Lucy. I'm not sure why I'm coming up as El Hemi01.
You can change it.
It's cool.
Okay, let me have a look. I'll try and change that now.
Hi there.
Let me test our connection via
Ramsey.
VPN. Yes, hi Ramsey, we can hear you, but we lost your video and we would love to see you. And now we lost your sound.
Yeah. We will.
Yeah, and we have a few more people joining. You guys are early. I love this.
Yeah.
Sorry, audio is broken.
Oh,
Give me a sec to try with VPN. Take your time, Ramsey. We're still a few minutes ahead.
I see coffee. I should have thought about that. Just have a little. Good.
Oh, he left and then he probably come back. All right.
Yeah, good.
And then we're also waiting for Lars Bo.
Yeah.
He has the link, right?
Yeah, I sent him the link. I better check as well. Actually.
Yeah, just triple check. And then we have Wolf also joining. Ah, Lucy had left too. Now you're back.
I'm back.
Oh, you
Sorry.
did that. Super. Yeah, no.
I love the way those headsets that you guys have sound.
Oh, yeah.
Every time I speak to you,
I feel like more like a call center, but you know. Now I him because we got there is Lars Bo. Hi. Okay.
Hello. I think you might need to turn
This
on.
is the engine room speaking, but it will soon kind of.
Hi, Caroline.
Hey, you well? Thank you up front. You know, so I unveiled the treat that you have today, guys. It's you know, his name is Lars Bo, and will soon be up for a keynote. But before that, we're going to contextualize it a little bit more. We're going to give it one more minute because we've got quite a few things that we want to share. We know that people, you know, will dial in a bit later, but we want, of course, reward the ones that were already dialing in ahead of the game. So thank you for making time in your busy diary. Hazel, you want to kick off?
Yes, sure. So welcome and thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules. I know that in advertising it can be, I don't know, like 24/7. I used to work in the ad world for 12 years, so I can relate, and I'm super happy that you're making the time. Hi, Olivier, welcome.
Hi.
And we've prepared a program for you guys based on a challenge that we faced. You know, this was supposed to be an in-person program. We want to make sure we make the best out of this, you know, challenge and this opportunity, I guess, in order to drive this program forward. I'm Hazel Swain. I am your program leader, and along with Caro and with Tim and Allison, who you can see also on the screen. will be guiding you through this experience. And we are starting with self-leadership. All of you, I think, are already on Slack. It's not a traditional e-learning program. This does require that we all lean in. It requires that we put the best that we can do in order to learn, to be active in terms of our own leadership, and to be active in terms of our own learning, and also networking, right? And in fact, involve others, right? To bring others and to become the drivers of this program as well. You guys have seen probably the syllabus. I can just briefly go over. It'll be 6 weeks, not consecutive. We'll have some live sessions like these, and then we will also have tasks that we'll be putting up on the site that we've created. It will require that you guys create something and then we give feedback. There will be peer feedback and also reflection, which is a key essential piece of the Hyper Island methodology to make sure that the learning really sticks. And we'll have guest speakers. Today we have Wofa, and then we also have Lars Bo with us. We'll be combining Hyper Island igniters, as I call them, and I can actually now begin to share my screen, because we can start presenting who is going to be the igniters today. Do you want to start kicking off?
Hello, welcome also from me. So I'm Caroline Benevermeer, and I'm in EMEA, responsible for all things, well, I call it a juicy dustbin, because it's everything but reward and workday. But it's a juicy dustbin as such. It's leadership, it's talent, it's organizational effectiveness. And I'm actually welcoming you on behalf of Giulio and Philip, who unfortunately for personal circumstances can't be joining us today, but they're definitely going to be joining in the coming live sessions. But we're no short of EMEA exec members, as you've noticed. As you could see, they're all keen to show how important actually digital capability building is. But also want to reinforce, to say as well that you've been selected for attending this program, and I have to say it's quite special. So congratulations to you, because currently the only EMEA program that we are running, and we're very keen to use this time, because you know we're all working at 100 miles an hour, and it's a real luxury sometimes to press pause and have that time to reflect and create that space for yourself as well, to first of all work out, okay, where have I come on my journey, right? And what will be making me more effective in operating in the context that we call the digital economy. Now, I think as Hazel already started to allude, this is an unusual program, as it's not kind of just focusing on building skills. It's definitely challenging you on the mindset you currently have, and being open-minded and practicing open-mindedness, and questioning where you come to, but also where you can go to. And that's why we wanted you to take that 360 questionnaire. So to already, informed by input from relevant stakeholders, start to kind of work out where have you come to, and what would you best use this program for, to focus on, to further build on existing strengths. But actually, as one of the first challenges that I want to kind of set for yourself is being open-minded about the fact that this is not face-to-face, but it's a virtually engaging initiative. So the design will definitely allow you, if not force you, to learn how to bond with people in a virtual environment. And actually, you know, most of our colleagues are not sitting in the location we are. So in order to make the most actually of DAN, it's a good skill to have, to know how to liaise, engage and work, I would say, virtually together. So this program gives you a lot of practice ground as well. The other kind of wish that I have is that as you're learning, you just don't keep the learning just for yourself, but you share it with your colleagues, and more importantly as well, you share it with your clients. And this is how I will measure myself on my effectiveness and whether this program is doing that. And I'd love to have your feedback, constructive negative or positive, as to how much this is helping or what we could do more on the way.
Great, thank you for that, and thank you for your trust also in Hyper Island and us as participants. The purpose for today, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to kick off the program. We're going to start today with self-leadership. We have Lars and also Wofa joining us to help bring this to life and ignite what this means. I just want to take a brief moment to introduce the facilitators and coaches who will be guiding you through the whole program. I've introduced myself just a little bit. My role will be to make you feel safe, create a space where you can be yourself, and where sometimes I get also to challenge you and challenge assumptions, and to make sure that everybody feels included and welcome, and that you have the right tools in order to thrive. Tim and Allison, you want to share a little bit more about your roles and also what you will do here in this program?
I'll go. Hello, everyone. Really great to see you all. My name's Alison, and I'm really excited about this program. Actually, it looks great. I've seen who's on the program, and it looks like an amazing group. So I am, alongside Tim and Hazel, one of the coaches and facilitators. I'll be on the live sessions every week. But really, my role, the role that I kind of tend to take, is that I lean towards kind of practicality. I'm a process designer and facilitator, so I like to sort of help people reflect and see how they can apply a lot of the things that they're learning into their daily work. So I'll probably be asking you lots of questions around that along the way, and start getting you to reflect and see how you can apply little bits and pieces and tools and techniques to what you're doing at the moment.
And we'll use this chat bar.
Yeah, and we can also use the chat bar. It's for those of you who are new to Zoom. We have chat also. We want to hear your voices and also your your opinions, your questions, etc. throughout today. But Tim, do you want to go ahead and quickly intro yourself? And then, Lars.
Sure. Yeah. Hi, everyone. See from the time. I'm originally from the last 3 years here.
It's breaking up, Tim.
Is
it breaking up for you guys too?
Hello.
Yeah.
In the beginning.
Nope.
So maybe turn off your camera for a second while you speak. Maybe.
Okay. Yeah. Hi. Is that any better? Can someone hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys. The joys of Brazilian internet connections. So yeah, I'm part of the Hyper Island team here in Latin America. So I'm actually here in Sao Paulo. That's why there was a lot of sunshine in the background when I switched the camera back on. Please don't be shocked by the sunshine. So I guess my role really will be, I am by sort of background an anthropologist. I do a lot of work around behavior, behavioral psychology, trying to understand people, trying to understand behavior, how people operate in teams. So really fascinated on seeing how we can make this experience good, useful, how you guys can apply this. And also, I think I'm just learning every day. I'm still learning. I think that's, for me, the joy of working with Hyper Island is I still feel like I'm getting as much out of this as anyone else in terms of my own learning. So, I hope to share my doubts, my fears, and just go along for the ride with you guys. And a little bit of fun as well. Sorry, I don't want it to be too serious. If everyone can enjoy themselves a bit as well, for me, that would be great. That's maybe, now I've moved to Brazil, I've lost that English kind of reserve. I like a bit of fun now I'm in Brazil. So please, can everyone enjoy themselves, have a bit of a laugh, and let's everyone just get the most out of it. Because I think if we're enjoying ourselves personally, we'll all get that much more out of the experience.
Thank you, Tim. And now we have Lars Bo, who's going to share with us a formula he's developed. The idea is that we make this as interactive as possible, Lars, so if you're okay with them jumping questions
mute.
That everyone's on mute, but I feel bad muting you, but I want to make sure that you know that you can unmute and raise your hand, and please jump in as much as you can. Lars, I'm going to share your slides, or would you like to start speaking first and then me going to share your slide?
Let me start first just by setting up the context, and then we can do the slides. First of all, some of you guys on the call know me, most of you don't. I'm the CEO for Nordic, Central and Eastern Europe. I've been in the group for many, many years, and I always feel extra fired up or delivering value when I'm with either clients or talent, because that is basically what we live off in our business. And I understand that being a talent and then being on a talent program like this, and then it ends up on a Skype call, is in some respect not, ideal. But hey, let's make the most of it. And in some other respect, it actually has an advantage, which is we can bring a lot of people together very smooth and very fast. And at least I will do my best just to give you a little bit of perspective. I think it's important to say that leadership is a very personal thing, because leadership obviously is a lot about leveraging who you are to do what you want. And so when I present my take on leadership in the digital era, there could definitely be numerous of other paths to that. I would just share the way I think and the way I behave and the way I lead, and then perhaps you can find bits and pieces useful. All right, let's kick it off and go into the slide deck.
Can everybody see Lars' slides? Just nod or say yes. Good.
Good. So I thought, since you're very smart people, we would start with an equation. And the equation is a lot of letters, and then I tried to make it look very mathematical. So that is the recipe for leadership, if you ask me. So basically it says V plus TR plus M plus I multiplied by OER, and then again multiplied by CO uplifted in N is what leadership is all about. And now you can have a little think. If you have, yeah, then move on, please. Thanks. So, okay. So obviously that's my recipe for leadership. And let's have a look at the various pieces of my leadership equation. So if we move to the next slide, that is about vision. What I think is very, very important if you want to lead people, whether it's me leading 4,000 people in Europe, or whether it's a country CEO leading 200 people in a market, or whether it's an agency MD leading 50 people in the agency, or a team leader leading people, I think the most important, or the first thing you should ask yourself and think about is, what is your vision? What is the story you want to tell, and what is your message? Where is it that you think you're going, and where you want people to follow you? I think when you talk about a vision, obviously you can think about it as if you come home to your husband, your wife, your children, and say, let's go on a journey. You know, if you want them to follow you, it has to be an exciting journey. It also has to be felt, perceived, real. Necessary, well, sometimes, yeah, it's necessary, or at least rewarding. And also sometimes it might be a little bit dangerous or exciting or new. But I think the key thing is you need to be able to tell people where you want to go, or what is it that you want to do, or what is your belief. And that goes for leadership, that goes for relationship, that goes for bringing up children, that goes for many things. If if you then translate it into our business, I just tried to put words on what could be a good example. So the digital economy is impacting every aspect of people's lives, transforming all businesses. Even if we don't know the exact route, we should get going now to arrive before competition, because the only certain place to find growth is on the path to and within the digital economy. Some will expire, some will explore. Our vision is to be 100% digital economy business in 2020. Now, so I think to me, four lines or 4 sentences like that is a very clear message about digital will change lives and transform businesses. So we have to move, because if we don't move, then we will expire. We should allow ourselves to explore, because if we do so, that's where we will find growth. The reason why I think it's very important for you guys to think about is not whether those sentences could be written in a different way, but it's more like, if you are a leader, then you can only be a leader if you have followers. If you don't have followers, you're not a leader. And in order to have followers, you know, where should they follow you? So that is the first thing. Excuse me? Okay. I thought there was a question. Yeah, let's move on to the next. Okay, so now you have told people where you want to go or what you believe in. I think then for people to follow you, you need to be able to build trust. Because if they don't trust you, they will not follow you. I think the one with the ambulance in the background should mute the microphone, if it's possible. Thanks. Good.
I just did it. I'm playing Zoom God.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Sorry if I mute
Okay.
you. Don't take it personally.
No. So, but just as a leader, I try to be very, very aware of the fact that if I want people to follow me, they need to believe me and trust me. So what is trust? And if we then move on to the next one, to me, trust consists of at least five elements. Can we move to the next slide? So here I tried to show you what I believe is the essence or the building blocks of trust. I think if you all think about it, the concept of trust is in crisis. We have fake media, fake news, stupid politicians we can't trust. We even have fake leaders and fake companies. And I think there is a genuine mistrust, which perhaps also in our industry has accelerated the last 5 years. So if it has accelerated, I think it's even more important that we are aware of it. At least 2 reasons why is what I call the digital paradox and the growth paradox. So if you think about digital in one respect brought all the consumers much closer to the businesses. Because all of a sudden, businesses, politicians, media couldn't hide the way they used to be able to hide. So in one respect, there has been more transparency. But in the other aspect, it has also created more confusion, because all of a sudden, we don't know if we listen to a legitimate authority or just a piece of fake news. Or the way we communicate is less and less face-to-face, person-to-person. It's computer to computer, mobile to mobile, email to email. It's communication based on technology platforms where we don't see all the bits and pieces within this technology apparatus. And I think that has created an alienation or a distance. So when you are a leader, you have to be very much aware of not to be too much hidden away behind technology, emails, etc. Just a small example. Every time you open a Skype session, I think many people, they don't click on the video because they feel more comfortable if they just can sit by themselves and just talk. But I think just adding visual to audio completely changes a Skype session. Now, the other thing which is important about trust is the growth paradox. The last 10 years, everything has been about globalization, growth beyond borders. Companies are becoming bigger and bigger, but that also means that I think we are less the more we grow, because, and what do I mean by we are less? I mean that the more we grow, the longer the distance to the people we depend on. And the more seldom we really talk to the people that matters. So as a leader, it's super important that while you grow, you still have to be very close to the people. And it's a challenge and it's a difficulty, but we just have to think about it. There was a recent study. Some of you might have read it. It's one we did ourselves. I just highlighted the most important, called the building blocks of trust. And it basically shows that if you want to build trust, in order to have this leadership authority where people will follow you, you have to be reliable. What does that mean? You have to consistently deliver what you promise. So as a leader, don't give a promise you can't deliver on. So to Jerry Bullman, if I promise I deliver the budget, I deliver the budget. If I find a challenge, I find a way out, but I deliver the budget. That's my responsibility. And once I have done that once, twice, and actually now I've done it for 16 years in a row, then Jerry trusts me because I deliver. Or if you tell your people, you know, we're not going to fire despite the fact that we just lost a client, then you're not going to fire. And if you have to fire, because sometimes that also happens, then you have both to be transparent, be reliable, don't say something you cannot deliver. Two other very important elements of trust is established and credibility. So credibility is about being authentic, being you, being honest. So when you communicate with people around you, again, you know, people will notice what you say, even if you don't put too much attention or importance to it, but because you are their leader. And if they are to follow you, they'll listen and watch everything you say and every move or step you take. So make it authentic and make it honest, even if it's difficult. Then also is being established is, you know, if people know your heritage, it's like they feel more comfortable about you. So if they know that you will always find a solution, or you do take care of your people, or you are really good in pitches. So if people know your heritage, what does that mean? Well, it means that you have to be aware as a leader of building your established base so they know what you stand for. And then obviously the transparent issue is important, which is, you know, be transparent about what you think and what you do. And I'll come back to that with an example later. And then also closeness. Do you understand your people? I think the closer you are to people, the more you will understand. And that's so you know, avoid the closed door, avoid to be around people who are the same as you, create a mixed team of people around you with different skills, etc. So I hope that just gave you a small thing. That's at least how I try to analyze the most important building blocks around trust. If we move on, speed a little up, then we come to the mission. So now people know where I want to go and they trust me. Now I have to tell people the what, the why, the when, the how, so they can understand what is it we are going to do. Because if they understand, they can now also be part of it. And I think very often many leaders, they are very keen on the what and the when. So deliver the budget this year, or win that client in Q2, or launch that product in Q3. It's not why are we launching the product? Why do we have to deliver the budget? Why do we have to make more money to Jerry Bullman year on year? And how are we going to do it? And I think there is a massive communication task there. So in yellow, I just gave examples. So we could say that our vision is the 100% digital economy business. That's what we want to be. Now, because we have the disruption, there is a massive potential if we face disruption, if we meet disruption as an opportunity, because everybody knows that change is a very positive thing if you embrace it before everybody else, because if you then get to the where you want to go before everybody else, you will have an advantage. Okay, let's move on. That was basically, so now people trust you. So you have told people where you want to go, they trust you, they think it's exciting, and they know their role in it. Now we want them to actively take part and be co-writer or co-author to a very interesting story or performance. And I have split that into 3 simple things. So I think if you have people, it is very important that you set clear objectives, because an objective to me is not an unreasonable ask. An objective to me is giving people a very clear idea of when they are successful, what is expected, because everybody wants to meet expectations. Everybody wants to be successful. Everybody wants to meet their objectives. So that's a modern leader.
I think Dan, you had a question maybe?
Just to be clear, that is not Dan crying as a baby.
I'm sorry, it's me.
So, a quick question from me. So, we talk about trust. So, something that often happens in our business is the loss of trust. So, looking at those building blocks, Lars Bo, which of those do you see has been most important in rebuilding trust?
In rebuilding trust, that's a very good question, Dan. I think, well, from a personal experience, I think it is a lot about this this credibility, this just be honest. I mean, even if there is a bad story, be honest and be transparent, because I also realized that you know, I also had issues, challenges. I made mistakes. But if you explain the challenge, or if you explain the mistake, or whatever it was, in an honest way, where you come across as a person and people understand why you took the risk or why you made the wrong decision, and then what. So I think this honesty, authenticity, And I also have a rule number 6 I'll come back to at the very end would be, but I think very often also in our industry and in our business, we are perhaps sometimes too afraid of telling the truth and too preoccupied about being perfect. And sometimes I think you lose the credibility, which, as you could see, was the most important building block.
Thank you for that question, Dan, and yeah, for modeling that. So if anybody has questions, please feel free to jump in, and thanks, Lars. Should I go back to the slides now?
Yeah.
Perfect.
So now that everybody knows where to go and they want to go, we also need to make sure that they actually have an opportunity to go, which means we need to involve people. And as I said, setting the objective first is the most important thing. It gives people comfort when they succeed, when they fail, what to pursue. Then what I think is super important is to empower people. And you can think about empowerment in every relation you have, whether it's your children, your friends, your wife, your husband, your boss, your reports. Empowerment is trust. If you don't trust people, it's difficult to empower them. But if you trust people and you have the right people, it's not difficult to empower them. And if you don't, you take out a lot of motivation and engagement. And I think one of the things I talk a lot about these days in our big organization is I fear that empowerment is struggling because we're growing so big. So we have so many systems, processes, and policies because we want to be aligned. And I understand that, but we can never take power away from people because then, they will definitely not move anything. And then finally, once you then have people on fire on a journey, it is important that you constantly give feedback. It's not global check-in once a year. It is constantly feedback, and it's a face-to-face feedback. And even more important, we need to celebrate when people are successful. We don't need to talk too much about when they're not successful. Then they perhaps need a little help on a one-to-one basis. But once people are successful, I always found celebrations in public really, really helpful for many, many reasons. One, aspirational. Many people will think, wow, I wish it was me who had that glorious speech by the boss in front of everybody. But also it creates an atmosphere of, wow, it's really recognized, it's positive, it's appreciated, etc., etc. I think many organizations and many leaders are very good at the objective setting. Some are good at empowering, and most people suck, literally suck at recognition. They think that a paycheck and a bonus once a year, and then all good, and it sucks, it just sucks. And that is just poor, poor leadership. If you cannot appreciate people going to work for you 24/7, 365, you're just a bad leader. All right, if we move on and speed up, and it's myself I'm talking to, not you guys, girls. So,
no, I knew that.
the final thing is communication uplifted in N, where N is the number of people you reach with your communication. I think throughout the vision, the trust, the mission, no, there's a mistake there. It should not say CO, but M. Sorry about that. The mission, etc. We need to communicate, and I think many great strategies fail because no one or few people knew, understood, or cared. And I think communication. The reason why I say it's the most important thing is it is the putting words on the various leadership steps is a prerequisite for the whole equation. So if we move on one slide, I think you get the clear picture. So communication is evangelizing the vision. What are the vehicles as a leader you use to evangelize the vision? Is it a monthly Skype session where everybody can see your face while you explain? Is it town hall meetings? Is it a weekly internal newsletter? Is it a Twitter account? What is it? But you have to evangelize the vision. How do you build the trust drivers through communication? Well, if you gave a promise and you delivered, tell people, I gave this promise, I delivered. Or if you have a worry, you know, we have this strategic issue, try to involve people without revealing all the secrets to competition, but try to involve people and be as transparent as possible. If you want to tell people that, you know, you can trust me on this one because I turned around that business and that business. So while I'm talking to you now about changes in this business, take it easy because I already did it 3 times before. I know we will make it. So take it easy. Also explain the mission, you know, think about the why and also think about the how and not just, you know, the what and the when. Also, defining objectives. I have found out many, many times that objectives, that's like a CIA secret, that you cannot show people's objectives because it's personal. I disagree. Because if I don't know everybody else's objectives, I cannot help them. And when they do something I don't understand, I think they counterwork me. But if I know their objectives, so in my cluster, everybody knows everybody's objectives. So if one is to remove that and one is to not remove it, then at least we know why there is a potential conflict, and then they know that they have different objectives. Or if one is to build Carrot and one is to build Isobar, and one is to make sure they, from finance, that they improve staff cost ratio, then at least you understand that the finance guy, who actually is a colleague, is not an idiot. He just has an objective of reducing cost, whereas the Carrot MD has an objective of winning business, so he needs more people. So communicating about shared or objectives is also very important. The feedback, the performance, and the celebration, I think I explained that. Once you get this going and you communicate around it, then you start to build a culture. And once you start to build that culture, you will realize it becomes a living organism. And that is a very, very powerful concept. Finally, if we move, I want to just end up on 2 leadership things I also use a lot, whether it's in the digital area or it was in an analog area. And rule number 6 is don't take yourself so goddamn serious. That rule number 6 was from some years ago. I read an article. You had asked Fortune 500 CEOs, and they could give the best advice to the next generations of good leadership. So 500 answers to what is good leadership. And they were grouped into the 10 most frequently mentioned rules. And then you had rule number 6. And rule number 6 was, as it said on the slide, don't take yourself so goddamn serious. It very often helps me to think about that, yeah, I am a role model, I am a leader, but I'm also a person, and I'm totally allowed not to be perfect and just to be a human being. And very often that actually builds my trust massively because I become approachable. Instead of just a very distant figure nobody can relate to. And then the final one, which is probably the most important thing, and that's probably more, if you think back on the slide you saw at the beginning with the 3 Pac-Men, that's more of a mindset. So that's the overarching thing of everything I do. And that is people have the power. It's a lovely quote by Patti Smith. And if you really live it, you can go very far. And if you don't live it, you will struggle. But that is the truth. And that is probably the biggest truth in leadership. That is basically believing in people and that they have the power. And the less power you use, the better leader you are. Because every time you use power, you lose power. I guess that was it. Ready for questions?
Yeah, thank you. I think, Peter, you have one.
Yeah, thanks for that. It was really insightful. It's just a really quick one on sharing objectives. Obviously, you've got a wide cluster and multiple opcos. How do you kind of facilitate sharing objectives and make sure that everyone's pulling in the same direction?
I can only tell this to you if we can promise each other that it stays in this room, and Caroline will not be too offended. But obviously, I realized as a very pragmatic CEO that the Horizon system was pretty challenging. So I made my own, which was a very advanced Excel sheet where you have on the top, you have a name and then you have 8 objectives. And then for the next, and I have 12 direct reports. So I have 12 names and 8 objectives. And then once I have made the objectives and agreed with those 12 direct reports, I send it out to all 12 of them. So each and every one can see. So for instance, Matthias in Sweden, the CEO in Sweden, he can see that Christa Welle has been asked by me to improve staff cost ratio in Sweden. So he understands why he gets a call, etc., etc. And then I have built this template, and then I've asked and agreed with my management team that that template is then also cascaded down the system. So very simple, but it could be in Horizons, it could be in Word. It's just the concept of sharing. And then you could say, what if this falls into the hands of competition? And then please go up and look in the equation again, because there's so much more than, the definition of objectives. Because, just seeing where we're going, and then they could copy our objectives. Yeah, but if they don't have the culture or the leadership skills or the communication, it's not going to help them anyway. Was that okay answer?
No, that's perfect. Thank you.
I think in the evolved approach that we are promoting on performance development, that's exactly the philosophy of it. So it's not about a system. It's really about having conversations, sharing transparently. What's your annual plan? What's your goal? It's got 2 aspects on it. It's the performance objective setting, but in that as well, your invitation to stretch yourself, develop yourself, and have a transparent conversation as well on how that ties in with, kind of the personal dream, the career aspiration you have, and therefore engage in a dialogue as well on how that is a win-win actually, and how you could kind of join forces as well, and therefore have, you break loose then from I would say an employee leader conversation anyway, because you all know in this era, it's nonsense that you think you can achieve something by yourself, right? The more you involve people, you work together, work through people, with people, right? And therefore, the more you are transparent about it and creative, the more you all set yourselves up for success. And I think that's what Lars Bo is alluding to as well. So he's perfectly entitled to use his Excel spreadsheet as long as it's done within the philosophy of performance development. And he's doing that perfectly. So I'm very proud.
I just want to add another thing. So you don't have to go back. I think everybody on the call remember that there was some yellow Post-its I used a second ago. Okay. Yeah, those ones. They are very, very simple, but the reason why I used them was that's another example of when you build trust or you try to be transparent. So ever since I took over NCE, every Friday, I send out to 4,000 employees 1 yellow poster, and it's called "It's Finally Friday." And Carolyn would know what I'm talking about, and some of the NCE colleagues on the call would know it. And sometimes it's like, what happened in the week? Where did I go? Or it's about a win, or it's about a celebration, or it's about if I'm pissed, or but I'm sharing my brains. And that's just to tell you the thing about being transparent and authentic and try to communicate. And I found it really, really helpful. And perhaps you could find your own yellow poster or vehicle of continuous communication, so people know and relate to you.
So Lars, Karo and I thought that we could do something interesting with your formula, and it's to ask everyone on the session to go to this site. You can do it on your mobile or in your computer, and if you enter that code and then kind of self-rate which one should you focus on strengthening, right? For example, mine would be involvement. I think that I'm very clear on my vision. I think I can build trust, and my mission is very purposeful, but I'm not so good at involving people, for example, right? Or gaining that, as you said, people behind my mission. So can I invite you guys to log in to menti.com, use this code 535993. It's super simple. You don't need to log in. And we'll see live here what this group thinks, what the collective thinks.
And feel free to use menti.com as well, as you are trying to build the involvement of your team, your colleagues. It's very user friendly, and it just gives you immediate data to work on and to question whether you're reading the situation.
And no, they're not a sponsor in the training.
No, I don't have shares in the guide. No.
Yeah, so let me know if anyone has problems logging in. I'm gonna go check the results coming in. I'm gonna actually stop sharing that and share my whole screen so you can see the results. So these are coming in live.
Oh, that's neat.
Isn't that neat? And it shows that everybody has their mission very clear. Let me see how many. There's 30. Yeah, we need to have at least 27. Yeah, the things that we want to strengthen. Yeah. Oh. No, they want to strengthen vision.
Yeah.
Communication. Involvement.
I have to say I'm very impressed with the self-assessment of people, because I'll soon share as well the aggregate results that you've done of your 360. I'm not going to reveal any individuals, of course, but I've made an aggregate analysis, because two cohorts together had like about 70 results. So we can, and I brought it back in how well are we doing against the Lars Bow equation of digital leadership.
Yeah. So before you share that, has everybody been able to go? Can we just see some thumbs up if you're done with it?
Yeah, you have 27 now.
Yeah, fantastic. So what I would like for us to do now is to just hear a few of you who voted this, so we can also share with Lars while he's here. Why did you choose the factor that you chose? And we can go in any, if you're just sitting with something interesting in the reflection, why do you choose that factor?
Hi, I chose vision, as we're a business that are undergoing huge period of change and transformation, and I think we're also still as a leadership team confirming what that vision is. So it's something that we need to strengthen as a business, as an agency brand.
Thank you, Lucy. Who else would like to share?
I can share something from Dubai. I think one of the challenges of changing industry is sometimes we're very clear on where we're going, but along the way there's many stops where we need to communicate with the different departments and different teams, and we fail at doing that because the vision is so big and so bold, and people need to get there within steps, and that's one of the challenges I think we're facing as an industry.
Wonderful, thank you, Ram. Who else?
Hi, it's James here from PSI in London. I chose communication because I think, particularly when we're starting to look at rolling out agile working, and I run an international team where people are often traveling all over the place. I think we've got to make sure that we are linking in the team and building a culture in that new agile space. And I think that's something that's not going to be an easy win. I think we're going to have to do trial and error along the way to see what works best with different types of people.
Brilliant.
One more, perhaps?
Yeah, one more.
I'll go if no one else wants to.
Go for it.
Yeah, please.
So, I mean, it's a little bit different. I chose involvement. I think what resonated with me was that, you know, as a business, as we've grown, we definitely empower people, in my view. But I'm not too sure we're good at the celebration and feedback generally. So I think involvement and making sure that, you know, work is celebrated and the great work that we do is celebrated and fed back to people is key.
Good. I think we lost Tim, or is he still online? He was. He's gonna paste something also on the chat. Something also that you guys can use for feedback to start applying it. You know, either individual and I can also add it to the site. I think it would be super useful. I love seeing that, Lars. Yeah, when you brought it as one key element, it seems something so simple that it's so powerful, especially when you give it. Especially when you, you know, the ability to receive it, to be able to lead.
Hazel.
Yes.
Hazel. It's,
yeah.
I don't know if there's any way, just quickly, does anybody have any example? Yeah, hi, I'm still here in the sunshine. I'd be really interested to know, does anyone have any good experiences or good tips to share just about how you do share recognition? Do you have any specific things you try and do anywhere around the world? Does anyone have anything that's worked for them that they'd like to share with the rest of us? Because I'm always looking for those things. I think it's a really hard thing to actually overcome, is showing recognition. So I'm always looking for tips. I don't know if anyone else has anything they try and do where they are they could share.
So while you guys think who would like to share, Dan just said here in the chat, I think we're often transparent with success, but rarely with failure. You know, pitches specifically come to mind.
It's the taboo of actually kind of
the failure, right?
Yeah.
The sharing.
That making mistakes is not seen as a good thing as well. When they silly mistakes you avoid, of course, but learning from mistakes, when you know, it's not setting yourself up for learning and evolving, and that's actually not helpful either, is it?
Yeah.
Lars Bo, what's the most outrageous thing that you've done in order to give people recognition?
The most outrageous thing I've done, I don't know, but what I would say is, which is very tangible advice for everybody, is, so we're in the media business, which is basically you have a media to transport a message. And if the message is recognition, you have to think about two things. What's the media or the platform, and what's the message? And you just have, as a leader, to find your own channel or media and then deliver the message. So for instance, I have this simple post-it every Friday, and I can guarantee you that I have recognized a lot of people in front of 4,000 people. If we have won, if we have awarded, agency leader, good colleague, whatever. But the power is not, you know, it is, once you build this channel and people are waiting for it, not everybody, but many people are waiting for that finally Friday, every Friday. And then, you know, so that is one thing. It could also be when you have town hall meetings. So 2 weeks ago, I was in Austria, and we had a town hall session for all 200 Austrian colleagues. And then, of course, I think it is very important in front of 200 people to tell them that, you know, they have a great leader and they achieved big time last year, and they had a, so I think it's about delivering or developing simple channels and then just do it.
Actually, on that, I love that point. That was one of my favourite points in the whole of the presentation, actually, the communication methods to be more transparent. And I've got a bit of a reflection question for everyone, really, to think, is there one thing that you can do, even a small thing that you can do, to be a little bit more transparent in your communication with your team or your business? So just have a think, is there one thing that you can do that's very easy to set up? It doesn't have to be massive change, but one thing that you can do to start being more transparent. I love the idea of the post-it note. That's just such a small, simple thing that can have such a big impact. So that's a reflection question that I have.
Thank you.
And whilst you're setting yourself up, because as you could see, we want you to reflect on things, we want you to kind of get input, but on the way, we want you also to stretch yourself and set yourselves challenges, small ones, bigger ones, you choose that yourself, but we want you to kind of not feel comfortable, not be comfortable, but be active in this session. And whilst you're doing that, I promised you I would share with you as well what the intelligence is that we got from asking you to do your 360. And as a cohort, if I bring it back to Lars Bohl's equation, what you could see is what we're good at is probably the trust building element, right? We're also good in the what of the mission. That we're absolutely not good at is in that vision thing. So I'm very happy that at least we acknowledge that for ourselves, that what we need to absolutely work on most is to create that compelling, bold vision of what we think we could do, and therefore provide direction, inspiration, that exciting, slightly dangerous journey that Lars Bohl was referring to. And secondly, you know, the other thing that we could really challenge ourselves on is to be how to lead change. And that's, again, very much on that mission focus, that it's not just the what, because we're extremely good at getting results, right? And being relied upon to do what we do. But what we're not so good at is when we go through change, leading change requires us more to focus not on the what, but more on the why and on the how, you know, and taking people with us in an inspirational way. And that is where currently I think we could do better at. And that coincides as well with communication and feedback loops and taking people on it. And so these are the top three that I've noticed through the 360s are things that are called out by your stakeholders on where we could stretch ourselves. And needless to say, of course, that we've used this as well to make sure that in the remaining sessions, we'll focus on this as well to give you some practical hints and tips.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. So we have Wofa also with us on the session, and she's going to be just doing a little bit more of a deep dive into what leadership in the digital era means from the inside. So the idea of putting it on your mask first before you help others, right? Now Lars has this formula that you put together, which I'm super grateful that you made the time to come and share with everyone.
Thank you.
Oh.
And I will leave you guys now. Have a lovely session.
Thank you, and thank you, Lars. If everybody can just maybe say wave to Lars.
Thanks, Lars.
Is that you sharing, Wofa?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me? Hi, all of you.
Hi, thank you.
I'm so sorry. I'm sitting in the airport in Stockholm. I got stuck here with a class at Hyper Island. My name is Wafa. I normally live in Denmark. And I would like to just share some ideas with you. It's been very interesting, both listening to you, Caroline. Hi, Caroline, long time. And Lars, he left. That was really interesting. First of all, your need. Everything you do, everything you want to achieve as leaders will be with, through, or with others. So that's why we are focusing so much on how your own understanding of your own behavior is related to other people. You will not be alone in this world anymore. That is one of the things that complexity tells us. What you need to be aware of is, what is your need? I was thinking about this earlier. When you come to a webinar like this, when you come to the upcoming webinars, to make sure that you just spend at least 2 to 5 minutes. What is your need? Because if you know how to dissecate, if you know how to translate, if you know how to formulate needs, you will already be more interested in other people, because everything you do will be in one way or another to fulfill needs, whether it's your employees, whether it's your clients, whether it's your cooperation partners, whether it's the digital world. But complexity forces to step back in order to try and design mentally and emotionally what are our needs. So everything you want to do in this complexity, where you want to be leaders on the platform of Dento Eiges network, will have to do with needs. So be aware of your own needs in this entire rollout through this cohort on the webinars. I hope this is supporting you too, Hazel, and you, Caroline, in the work onwards. Whenever we talk about the self-leadership, there's one interesting thing that I was writing down while I was listening to Lars, is you have to make up your mind whether you're managers or leaders. Are you managing with your hands, and that means making concrete things all the day long, or are you looking at the long-term survival of your organization? What is your direction? And one of the things you should use a program like this for is to look at your own direction. Where the hell are you heading? Do you know where you're heading, or do you just want to reach a goal? And one of the things that I wrote down for you is sometimes in life it's necessary to move straight ahead. Other time it's better to back off or sidestep or move around in the same circle until you sense your way. Having no destination or being destination driven are two sides of the same directionless coin. So what you could use also these webinars for is basically to take time to think about where are you heading, either with your management or with your leadership position. Are you good at doing that abstract thing that leadership does, or are you good at the everyday dealing with daily managerial stuff? You have to make a distinction between those two. So when the self-leadership is activated, once you need to know what is your need, you need to know how you work on directional efforts. What is a direction for you? Do you know where you're heading? And do you know with who you are heading there? Or how does that manifest itself in your daily operational life? Use these webinars and this program to take a step back and think about how you formulate these things. A third thing in this enormous complexity that you want to be leading or managing within using the Dento Eiges network platform, you have to be aware of your intention. Before we were talking about appreciation, I wrote as a note for you all out there, what is your intention? If you give appreciation, people are enormously sensitive. They sense whether you are giving appreciation because you want to be a kind leader or because you mean it. So be aware of your intentions before you give attention, okay? Attention is a bridge between the receptive energy of awareness and the outgoing energy of action. We will come back to that a bit later. So need, direction, intention, and attention are some of your leverage points to navigating complexity and find out how you can choose your own path in all this. Self-leadership is primarily about that you, in a proactive sense, have a sound and healthy foundation where you build up resilience to navigate the complexity that will probably be feeling as overwhelming you throughout your entire careers. I use this metaphor with Alice in Wonderland. I wrote in it, you in Wonderland land, that Alice is coming walking to this crossroad. And she asks the cat, whose name is of course Lucifer, which way is the right one? And the cat answers, where you're going. And she says, I don't know. I just want to be a leader at Dento Eiges network. And the cat Lucifer will answer back, if you don't know where you're going, then it's not important which way you choose. I very much see this program, in order to enhance your leadership capacity, as forcing you in a way to make both a distinction between out and in, but also to make you take a stand. Which foundation are you standing on in order to be contributing to the long-term sustainability of DAN, okay? And when we talk about being aware of your need, knowing that you dare and are courageous enough to take a stand to find out which direction you are taking, whether it's into the leadership thing or more the operational managerial thing. And you're aware of your intention and attention that you give to all the people whom you want to succeed with. What we're about now to enter is basically a proactive realm. And can you hear me? Okay, cool.
We hear you.
Wonderful. Cool. Just, I'm just.
Does anybody have any thoughts or questions or anything they're sitting with for Wufa right now as she speaks? I know that we made a shift, so I just want to make sure everyone is with us. You can smile, you can nod.
So when we are talking about proactivity, some of you might have heard the term. Proactivity means we are so fond that we are almost in love of action that we dare to take time to think about which would be the conscious steps to take further on. Proactivity doesn't mean to act. That is pre-activity. And when you are hosting a leadership functionality and you know your need, you know that you dare to take time to find out which direction you are heading. You know your attention and your intentions. And you also know that Lucifer is sitting up in the tree and you have to make some kind of choices. You can, in this transitional phase, you can become inactive because it's overwhelming. You can become reactive because you feel as a victim to all of these things going on in your surroundings. You can become pre-active because you just want to act in order to act, because if you act, no one will know that you in fact don't know where you're heading. Or you can become proactive, which for me means that we like action so much, we want to have an actionability in our system, even though it's a very transitional, it's a complex digitalized system. But we are so fond of action that we dare as leaders to help our systems, our teams, to take time to think about what would be the smart step to take in order to reach where it is we want to go with this organization or this team. A way to help you do that can be to work on your SWOTs. What are your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats as leaders? What are your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats as leaders? Have a look at yourself. This is the leverage point to start dialoguing or working on an inner leadership or a self-leadership, as we call it, in order to release both a conscious step, but also a perception of yourself in this turmoil of a transition that most companies are going through. And I think the way Lars talked about it just shows exactly what complexity you are ruling right now. The other leverage point, I think Caroline wants to say something.
No, we were just saying that we're going to go into the leadership canvas exercise now, where each of you will have time to work with another peer on your own canvas, and that this fits perfectly for that. Yeah. Okay, we were just betting with our minds.
Yes, I just want to give you one more leverage point to the leadership canvas. What is your challenge as leaders? It's not what is your problem, it's what is your problem's problem. If your problem is you don't have time enough to lead your people, relate to your people, or make sure you communicate with the people, why do you not have time enough for that? Is it your ability to prioritize? Is it your ability to focus? Is it your courage? Is it your sense of being a leader? But have a look at what is definitely challenging you. Don't look at your problems, look at your problems. That is also a leverage point in order to navigate in the complexity that you're being presented with here. Okay? Any question at this point? Are you hearing me, all of you? Cool. The proactive mindset, in fact, helps you to understand you do not have control over what these leadership functionalities throws at you as leaders, but you always have a choice about how you're going to respond. When you are a proactive leader in this system, you are basically securing an autonomy within the function that you are filling out as leaders. And that, I think, would be the best leverage point that Caroline, you and your HR department and your CEOs at Denso Igis Network, in fact, can feed to your leaders so they don't feel as victims for the different strategy or the different goals or the different requirements that could come in any kind of communication in an organizational development. So, remaining creative and being able to go to a situation where you're not told what to do, that is the future of leadership. And then to find out how to deal with it, that is why your people love you. this should be the basic human leadership skill that we are evolving towards. If I would have one sentence or one kind of message to send out to you: know your need, take time to reflect on your directional force, where you're going. Are you leaders or managers? What would you like to choose? Be aware of your intentions and attentions. Focus on your proactivity by doing self-work, for example, using a SWOT or the leadership canvas you will see in a second. Be aware of your problems, and start moving ahead. Does it make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Can you, ask your questions so we can see everybody on the screen? Maybe if I start sharing.
I just have to find you here behind my Google Docs. Where are you?
I got it.
You got it?
Yes.
Cool. There you are. Thank you.
Yes. Yes. So let's stop. And here we are. Yeah, so if anybody has any comments or questions for Wolfa right now, you will go into an exercise where you will do, you'll get to apply what Lars has shared, what Caro has shared, what Wolfa has shared, and start developing your own leadership canvas. It's a place where you'll collaborate with someone else, and you'll be able to actually start putting words into what it means to be a leader in the digital era. The best way for us to learn is to learn by doing, and so that's what we will be doing in a second. But do you have any questions or comments for Wolfa? Or any thoughts? Yeah.
Reflections are okay too. I bombarded you, I know that.
No, I think the biggest learning I got from the message is being creative in leadership, because, you know, we're leaders, but we also have leaders above us and they have leaders above them. So sometimes it's a challenge to execute a specific vision or mission without being a bit creative with the resources that you have. And I think that's a challenge for every leader that works in this organization, where we have a hierarchy of people we need to report to. We're given a specific set of instructions sometimes, of a direction. And with limited resources, you have to be creative in how you execute so that the team stays on the same path. And I think that was the biggest message that I got out of that. And yeah, we live in challenging times. That's the question that I was trying to get out of Lars in the beginning. The media industry is changing. It's being bombarded by new entrants like consultancies that are encroaching on our space. Yep. Data is coming in big time. The big players out there, Google and Facebook, actually don't need us. We need them sometimes more than they need us. And I think that's the big question for us as leaders in this organization, or the next wave of senior leaders in this organization, is how do we keep on driving change within this industry while maintaining the fact that sometimes the resources that are available to drive that change are quite limited. I mean, we're doing this course online because of those limitations. So that's I think we're being creative in the solutions that we're finding today. So I think that's just another challenge of how do you make sure that that creativity comes into your leadership style with your team and with the organization itself.
Yeah, thank you. You just, somebody just added something to the chat. Alison, do you mind reading it? Because I'm creating the breakout rooms, so I want to make sure that I don't leave.
You want me to read it out?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Oh. I just wrote because Ramsey was saying about this thing of being in the sandwich of leading up and leading down. And one of the things about having a direction, being aware of a need, mastering your attention and intention creates resilience. But Ramsey, if you add vulnerability to that, you become creative. And every time you ask a question and you put yourself out there, you are in fact revealing a vulnerability, because resilience without vulnerability creates sociopaths. If you're just hardcore going into it, And that's exactly what I got out of your reflection, Rams. It was beautiful. But it's resilience plus vulnerability is in fact generating, activating, igniting the creativity. And just by asking questions where you reveal yourselves, and do this in this forum, is revealing or showing how we are vulnerable, we do not know, we are seeking, we're curious, help me out, whatever it might be of an intention you have with doing it. And that would help you if you could do that a bit more. That was just my reflection on the creativity. You have to be enormously creative in finding out how to communicate, how to relate. They all want you, and you have to own the platform from where you outgo in doing this work. No one else can do it. If you said yes to this position in DAN, find out how you define and create a version of that position before anyone else comes and does it. I mean, and Caroline won't do it. She's having a long, intense program doing it for herself and her position and how to lead from that. So no one is coming to do it. So create a version, use these inputs you get here from us and from each other especially, to create a version of what is leadership / management to you. How do you feel about being in that? And that's how you take self-leadership.
Thank you so much, Wolfa. And what we'll do now is that you will start applying that. And the way that this would work is we have a leadership canvas that we've created. Can you guys see my screen, everyone? Yeah. Kind of. So what we'll do is that you will get a link. I'm actually posting the link on the chat box right now. You will go, I'm going to play, as I said, the Zoom God. You're going to go into a breakout room with one other person, and you're going to spend 15 minutes working on your own leadership canvas, helping each other develop that. The way to do this is to please either download this as an Excel file or copy Okay, sorry about that. So the way that it works is that you can download or make a copy on your Google Drive of this sheet, and you will have 20 minutes to start it, right? To begin what it is, your own leadership canvas that you'll be working with throughout the whole program. So let's say Lucy and Olivier, you go into one breakout room, and then you spend the next 20 minutes supporting each other, mainly around the my leadership and the first three, the resilience, as Wolfa has mentioned. But can you guys not write, like I see Ramsey, you're already writing on the sheet. So thank you for doing that. Actually, the idea is to go here where it says file.
Oh, and download it.
And then download it, exactly, so that everybody can, all right?
Sorry about that. I thought that was just for me and the people that I'm with.
No,
okay.
no worries. Before I send you guys into your breakout rooms, are there any questions? And trust me, everything will make sense once you're with the other person and you download this and you figure out how to develop your own canvas. Tim, Allison, and Kara and I will start dropping into different groups. The way that it works is that I will set a time. You'll go into these pairs and groups, and then 1 minute before you need to return to the bigger group, you'll get a notification on your screen. So it's seamless, it's beautiful, it works. So are there any questions before I send you on to getting to do things
If not, you can always post a question on the chat channel.
Exactly.
And we're right into your virtual room with you.
Yes. We're leveraging technology in magical ways. All right, so that means everybody's good. So I'm sending you guys. See you in 20 minutes. Enjoy, make the best out of it. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Oh, well,
how are you, James? We're so happy you're here.
I see a good smile. I like that.
I had a few technical issues downloading the Excel.
Very underdressed.
And have you got it?
Oh yeah, I sorted it.
Good, good.
We're all, yeah.
No worries. This was just the first 20 minutes. We're going to spend much more time on this.
Good.
Right, everyone is coming back.
Yeah, we'll wait because they have the chance to say when they come back.
Go.
I'm just monitoring the non-verbal communication when I see people like still smiling or kind of.
Yeah, stopped us.
Yeah, okay, good.
Is everybody back?
Everyone's back.
We have no choice.
Yes, we feel like we've just been forced to the victory.
Okay, good. Good. So how was that? Who would like to share how was the experience?
Just put their minds at ease, maybe Hazel.
Oh yes. You wanna
Well, we of course went to visit a few rooms, and what we first want to do is put your mind at ease. We didn't expect you to finish this in 20 minutes. I hope by now you got the sense that you know this is an ongoing exercise. Right?
Yeah.
It's something we want to start off with is saying, okay, at least you've got now a tangible concept, right? A canvas, you know, almost an exercise where you can come back to. And if anything, what we wish for and what we will do in the next challenge that we set up is allow you to kind of start building that more, invite more kind of reflections in as well, more feedback. So for you to be able to kind of form, okay, what is my leadership signature? What's my brand? What do I want to be known for? What's the equation? If I would kind of start filling it in for myself. Reason being is, of course, that if you do that, you know, you're working on yourself, right? You're working on the self-leadership. And leadership, right, is something, I would say, where you never a finished product, but the only thing you could do is work on yourself as the tool to become better at it. So this is an invitation to start reflecting. We had many people saying, oh my God, you know, these questions, I've never asked them myself, but actually I should. If you have that realization, you got it, right?
Should we hear
continue the journey. Let's
hear a few reflections on how was this process for you guys?
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Not everybody at once.
Okay, so from my side, I was quite lucky to have Ramsey in my team because he was active from the very beginning. But telling the truth, this cooperation was very good. And the understanding of what was our aim was quite easy for us. We, of course, were too ambitious and thought about at least, you know, filling, you know, with one word in each field of the Excel file. But what was quite nice to have was the conversation of the understanding of the leadership of the business. For example, we had some problems with resilience, how to describe it, how to think about it in a way that what leadership means in common with resilience world. So that was quite a nice experience. Looking forward to finishing it with Ramsey or somebody else. Ramsey would be a very good companion, telling the truth. But was very, very, very good thinking about how we could change, how could we improve our leadership skill. Great.
Thank you, Sylvia. Who else would like to share?
I'll add something.
Thank you.
So I was working with Aline, and we actually started from the bottom up and not filling in what's our leadership and trying to work on the building blocks as to what we. And what was very interesting for me is these questions. We started discussing, first of all, like what the meaning is of the different questions and the subjects, and we saw that we have a lot of the same challenges and understanding in the business, which I felt that was very interesting to see that I'm not alone in everything that we deal with, both on a day-to-day and also from overall perspective.
Thank you. I love what you're saying about I'm not alone. I think that that's also a big piece of this program that you can see in the other brands what people are going through and how you can support and learn from each other. So it's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Who's next? We have time for a few more reflections before we close off.
I was actually just interested in terms of whether leadership and you know, the canvas talks about my leadership, but could my leadership sort of change depending on I suppose the challenges that I'm facing as a leader. So at the moment, I feel that it's around establishing trust and quite a clear vision. But when you've kind of garnered that trust and you've communicated the clear vision, then is this kind of the same, I suppose, as the leadership purpose? And is that sort of your brand that doesn't change?
Is there anyone who heard Lucy's comment that has a thought on that?
I can.
Yeah, go for it.
Lucy, I think it's super clever what you've come up with, because that's right. It's almost your personality, right? That's your leadership signature. That is driven, of course, by who you are, what you're driven by, your aspirations, your I would say your anxieties, but also your value system, your beliefs. But leadership is always contextual. It's leadership for what? It's not I would say, an aim in itself, right? It's there to kind of do something with. And of course, that means that leadership doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens in a context. And that's why we wanted to start with Lars Bohl's equation, because he defines it as to what he experienced all these factors to be in a digital economy, right? But even within that economy, and we can narrow it down and say, what is leadership at DAN? And then you have another kind of model that could inspire you, that you're all familiar with, which is leadership at DAN, right? And you've received input through your 360 on that. So that's another layer that you can bring. And then I would suggest bring it into your own context. You're all within a role, operating within a brand, right? And you're also operating into a context of clients. So again, you're quite right. It means that, depending on the context, it will perpetuate one element more that needs attention than another one. And it's very good to be conscious about it and sensitive to it. And therefore, it's a never-ending story. So thank you for allowing to share that, Lucy.
Thank you. Thanks.
Is that useful, what I just said? Or a lot of bollocks?
Yeah,
You can just
no, it's very useful. I mean, I was actually working with the DAN talent guys. It was actually James Pryor before he moved on, and he shared a piece from Harvard Business Review about finding your leadership purpose. And I feel that my sort of leadership is quite responsive to the challenges of the business, and it doesn't necessarily reflect enough of me as a person. And I think it's really it's something that I feel is missing, that could really kind of help the business, but also propel me and make me feel more personally rewarded through work as well.
I've got two asks for you, Lucy. One is, could you share the article on Slack?
Yeah,
that would be
yeah.
lovely. The second ask is, can you just share that insight that you just had? Because that's exactly it. Leadership is not just by being responsive, because then you are led.
Yeah.
But you need to answer the question, why should anyone be led by you?
Yeah, and I think that's a beautiful thing, that if you could add it to the channel on Slack.
I'll try and remember what I've just said.
It's recorded, so we can also put it there. Your
Okay.
own leadership. There's a channel called Your Own Leadership, and maybe I can invite you on there. Just tag you, but yeah, fantastic.
Great.
Thank you. And I think the next steps, because I am aware of time, we have 8 minutes on the session left. The next step is that you will continue to work on your canvas, and this canvas is something that it will be iterative, and you'll be using it all the way through the end of the program. What we'll do is that we have a task to finish it by the end of next week, or try to get as close to filling it out. I'm not going to use the word finish, but filling it out as much as you can, so that then you can give feedback to another person, and that another person can give you feedback, and start that input process that Caro was mentioning earlier.
We call it a first paintbrush.
A first paintbrush. I'm going to actually change the name on the site. I'm going to call it the first paintbrush on the canvas. Now, we have a few people who couldn't join today because they had some client and also a couple are out of maternity or paternity leave. So what I will do is that I would love to invite you to, be as active as you can on Slack. Just maybe share your reflections by next week. Also, there'll be a reflection journal where you can answer a few questions and just jot them down there so that others can learn from you guys and that you can also learn from the reflections of others, because every experience that we're having is different. It's from our own, background and everything that we have, that we bring. So it's different for each of us. And I think that there is going to be a lot of richness in learning together.
And as a byproduct, I want you to get to know each other.
Yeah.
Because if I heard from the previous cohorts what they really valued was expanding their network through being part of this cohort. So invite people in to have a conversation.
And so before we check out, we'll have each few seconds to say one word so we hear everybody's voices before we go. Are there any needs or any questions that you have for the tasks that are coming, for Slack, for joining next in now? Is there anything that you're sitting with that you really want to throw it out there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Yeah, it's Andrew from the UK. I have a comment, which is, I think the tone of this call has been great and super positive. But I think one of the things that in my breakout we dived into a little bit was the threats to the type of management we want to generate here. And I think, it's great to keep a positive tone on these things, but I think it would also be unrealistic if we didn't dive into some of the threats, and it would be remiss. And I think that, given the large corporate structure we all work within and the pressures there are existing in the industry at the moment, there are good intentions all round in terms of management, but we can't always do as we would like. And I think that's frustrating for those people who report into us, and it's also a point of frustration for us as leaders, because sometimes you don't necessarily feel you can do right by the people who work into you, and you have your hands tied slightly. And I think that it would be really useful as we progress during this course to dive into that a little bit more and learn some of those techniques to deal with that.
So good. Thank you for bringing this, because I think it's part of every progress or every transformation and evolution that we need to also look at the conflict, right? What's underneath that is not allowing us to move forward. So we'll include it actually on the next live session. I think an exercise around that will be super useful. Thank you for that feedback. It's like I said, it's going to improve the next experience that we have. And now, because we have about 4 minutes on the clock, one thing that we like to do when we leave every Hyper Island experience is to check out. I know there's a lot of us, but if we could hear everyone just say in one word what they're leaving with, feeling or thinking. So it could be curious or frustrated, or it doesn't need to be positive, negative, just anything that you're sitting with in one word that we can share, just to close this up. And I will be sending you more updates via Slack and email. If I had your Facebook and WhatsApp, I would also do it so that you have any communication. Borderline stalker. So who would like to start? We can just go, everybody can go. Yeah, we can do, I can do Laura. You go first.
I'm the first one. Very curious about everything. Curious.
Olivier.
Yeah, I found it very inspiring and very interesting to see that we are all facing the same problems, in fact, and the feeling not to be alone.
Thank you. Nicolette, I know you have, your throat might be...
Yes, I tried to say something, so sorry for my voice today. I'm still curious what's coming next, so can't wait the next meeting.
Thank you.
With all you guys.
Thank you, Nicolette. Hope you feel better. Naina?
Hi, I think it's been really thought-provoking, and just being able to set aside time to invest in our development is really important.
you. Yeah.
Yes, hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
For me, it was mainly about being connected with other people who are going through a similar journey, and also about being inspired as well.
Thank you, Pia. See you next
Thank
time.
you.
Aline? Or Aline?
Hi, I feel challenged, but in a positive way, absolutely.
Thank you. Checking out. And then, no. CEKMAN.
Hi, I'm Charlotte.
Charlotte.
That's my last name, Ekman. And overwhelmed, I think. It's a lot of information, but in a positive way. I'm looking forward to the next round.
Thank you, Charlotte. Sorry. Nico.
Hey, so I'm very impatient. Can't wait for the next round, and really nice to have people that are in the same kind of situation and facing the same kind of challenges and possibilities. So really looking forward to the next session.
Thank you. I love how we're all breaking the one-word rule. Keep it up.
Yeah.
Chetan?
Hi everyone. One word, helpful. I think it was really good. Just very, very helpful to really force me to think about things I've probably not thought about before.
Thank you. See you next time. Ramsey.
I think it's great. I feel like I'm building a blueprint of the future made out of people, so and their opinions and their advice. So it's really cool to be part of that.
Thank you. Thank you. Nicolas. Or Nicola.
Well, I have many words that would describe my feelings about this session, but the most is suitable is surprised, because I wasn't expected that this session would be so interesting and give me a lot, because when we were switched to online meetings instead of face-to-face meeting, I was really frustrated, and now I am surprised that works. Hopefully, next sessions will be as good as this one. Thanks.
Thank you.
We'll do our best with you and through you.
Oh, I think Maeve is frozen. No?
Maeve?
Yeah, Maeve.
Sorry.
We need to practice her name.
Maeve.
Maeve.
So yeah, no, I thought today was really, really good, really helpful. And I suppose from that I've got optimistic would probably be my word. So it's been quite thought-provoking. So a lot of reflection to do, but I'm optimistic for the future of the sessions.
Thank you. Sylvia.
Hi, talking about me, I think being totally positively challenged, especially thinking about the way that I hope that we're going together to create a clear vision, especially thinking about me working on Isobar. So I know that we're going to have, really great things discovered together, thinking about digital leadership.
Thank you. Andrew?
Yeah, I was going to do optimistic as well. Someone nicked my word.
It's good. We can repeat. Jorge? Jorge, yeah.
Yes, I'd say surprised, challenged, and a bit confused. Only a bit.
That's good. Natalia?
I won't be original. I'm extremely curious about what's coming next. The start was inspiring, so looking for the next sessions.
Thank you. Sorry we're running over, guys. But yeah, it's all the rule breakers. Peter? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, yeah. So inspired as well, but definitely open-minded, I think would be the word for me.
Dan?
Trust, and this is a group, and trust in this as a process. I thought it was a very, very good 2 hours.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Ariela?
Thought-provoking. Really thinking about things that I never have time to think about. Very interested to see how this progresses.
Thank you. Chris?
Yeah, hi there. I found that incredibly thought-provoking too. Lots of questions being asked that I'd never ever considered. So very excited about the program as a result.
Thank you, Chris. James?
Intrigued where this will lead.
Thank you. Lucy?
Sorry, guys.
Oh, unmute myself. Yeah, I think inspired comes to mind, but learning about myself and just becoming a better leader. Looking forward to it. It's been really enjoyable 2 hours. Thank you.
Thank you.
We haven't forgotten about you. You know, we skipped. So patient. You know, sorry.
So L-A-K.
I am Leila.
Leila.
I am Leila. Sorry for the name. Just I will use my first name, Leila Akcan from Karat Media. And the program is really excited me, and it's really innovative. And I will start to think out of the box by this way, because I know myself, my strengths, but I have to challenge myself for my weaknesses in terms of leader. And this really excites me.
Thank you so much. Dael? Dael, are you there?
We might have overrun.
Yeah.
Is there anyone who's
everybody went.
Yeah. Okay. So what's next?
So what's next? We'll send you updates on Slack, on email, and if you have any feedback of anything that you missed in this session, also let us know. Alice and Tim, one word. Keep it to one word.
Engaged.
Energy.
Engaged, energy, inspired.
Excited.
Excited. Thank you. Sorry for running over. I'm very conscious of your time, but thank you for being here, for leaning in. And we will see you guys in 2 weeks where we will be developing this further. Task will come on Slack. Thank you so much for joining. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.